Hello, everyone. Here is my briefing on what has gone down here over the last 12, 13 days. Um, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Approximately 2 years ago, I stumbled across a thing on Facebook called the Hoka Hey Motorcycle Challenge. It sounded intimidating, but yet also sounded like something I would love to say that I had done. So I threw it out to Jason, my good friend of mine that I ride motorcycle with, and said, "What do you think of this?" And he's like, "That would be awesome. Let's do it." Which kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't really send it to him seriously, but as soon as he said that, I was like, "Heck yeah, let's get this done." So we signed up, paid our dues to be part of this, and they had a reunion last June that we went to, and we met a bunch of these guys. Me as a Iowa rider, if I get 10 to 15,000, 18,000 miles a season, uh, I felt like that was always a good year. I went down and met with a group of guys that had 2-year-old bikes with 200,000 miles on them, 3-year-old, 4-year-old bikes with 300,000 plus. A 6-month-old bike with 70,000 miles. I mean, these dudes were on a completely different level, which was super intimidating. Yet they were very welcoming and very inviting, and willing to share their experience with us and give us tips and advice to how to handle this and how to make this successful. And for that reason, I appreciate them greatly. So in the meantime, I kept planning and scheduling, figuring out what I wanted to do, what I was going to bring, that type of thing. To brief what the Hoka Hey Motorcycle Challenge is, you start at a certain time, you get handwritten directions. This is an example. You probably saw this in some of my photos. This is actually the waterproof bag that I keep it in, line by line. There's 3 checkpoints. And the start and finish this year was in the same spot. So we went from the start to the first checkpoint, which was about 2,500 miles approximately between each checkpoint, which added up to about 10,000 miles. We started Sunday with our instructions, 6 a.m. Oh, I forgot about, you also sleep with your bike. It means you can't sleep inside in air conditioning. You're welcome to stop somewhere and shower, wherever that may be, a campground or a truck stop, or if it gets near your house or your friend's house, you can go shower there, but no sleeping inside. You sleep with your bike. I have an air mattress. I took along a tent, didn't use the tent. You're tired enough at the end of the day. I threw down my air mattress, put a sweatshirt under my head, and passed out. Most nights, probably on average, we slept 4 hours, somewhere between 3 and 5 hours. The rest of the time was on the bike or fueling or whatever it may be. Trying to think of any other you have to ride an American-made bike, which is Indian, Harley-Davidson, Victory. So we started 6 a.m. on Sunday, knocked out a little over 1,000 miles the first day, which felt really, really good to have that many miles knocked out. Where we're down within probably a mile of the Mexico border, and then at midnight ran down a road just south of the border, which was extremely hilly. It was one of those, if you went too fast, you'd go airborne over the top of it. It had rained slightly before we came through there, so there were spots where water was running over the road, not deep at all, but at one point we didn't really see it, and Jason was about probably 6-8 feet in front of me, so I took his wake off of his bike right directly to my whole entire left side of my body. Again, it wasn't deep. It was basically like a puddle, but that was interesting because we didn't see that coming. It was a little surprise. At that point, then we went to Florida. Panama City Beach was the first checkpoint. Checked in there, I think, somewhere around 17, 18. Slept there for the night. Took off from there, headed towards Davenport, Iowa. Again, about 2,600 miles, I think, was that leg. Running through Kentucky was rough. There was a 350-mile section in Kentucky on the same road. That road turned, I swear, 100 times. And the signage is amazing. That's one thing I did learn. With GPS nowadays, the signage is extremely rough. So having to look at paper instructions and follow street signs was a little challenging. Sometimes worse than others. Eventually, you kind of caught on to guessing really well, and that's what it took. It was a guess and luck sometimes. Only twice, I think, did Jason and I make a small mistake. One was about 20 miles, 18 miles, I think it was, and one was, I think, 9 or 10 miles. We had one other one where we had to go off course about 34, 36 miles, but that one was for gas. It wasn't a mistake. It was just like we couldn't go any further, so we had to go get gas. If you got off course with this paper written instructions, which I'd heard of some people being off course for almost 3 hours, you couldn't just shortcut back to the nearest spot. You had to go back to where you came on. We have a tracking device on our bikes that pings us. I think it's like somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds. So they know whether you did the course in the end. So again, my goal, I guess not again, my goal was to be a finisher. And one of the requirements is to stay on course the entire time. Which I would say I did pretty good with. I was pretty intimidated with that part going into this, but it worked out pretty well. So getting to Davenport, we checked in there, I think 14:15, which I was happy with. Like I said, I was going to be happy with being mid-pack, and again, goal was to finish Saturday. Didn't really care where I was at, but I also at the same time wanted to be at least, upper half. Continued on our way. Halfway through the third leg, we were watching the tracker and realized that we had gotten into the top 10. I think we were either 7 and 8 or 8 and 9, and then got into Yellowstone and made a wrong turn and spent what should have been maybe an hour and a half, spending almost 5 hours in Yellowstone. Amazing place. The scenery is amazing. The animals are amazing. The roads are amazing. People set me over the edge. Just lack of respect, stopping in the middle of the road to look at animals, even though there's signs everywhere that says please pull off the road to watch wildlife. Just crazy. The place is beautiful. Wow, what a pain in the butt to deal with people. I ended up basically at the end, after riding, stop and go with a bike in the heat, just getting hot as can be. Finally, I said, forget this, and I rode into head-on traffic, which was going very slow. It was in the park because there was people stopping to look at buffalo, and we couldn't. I wasn't going to sit there for another hour and a half, which is what I had done. Like I said, what should have been an hour and a half, maybe we spent almost 5 hours at Yellowstone. At that point, I think we were somewhere at 20 or right below 20th place. So we tried to push that night through the night. We wanted to try and knock out a couple 100 miles. We maybe got 40 to 50 miles in, and both of us decided that physically we couldn't do it. It was just too, it was the middle of the night. It was dark. It was in the mountains. It was twisty. We were both super tired. So we only proceeded to the nearest town, which was a push. It was dangerous. We learned our lesson that we can't do that. So we slept, had our bike serviced at that place, and then took off to the final checkpoint, and just kept doing what we did before, where we would sleep 3 or 4 hours at night and push hard. And what we did at the end is we started shortening all our breaks. When we would stop for fuel, we didn't waste any time. We'd fuel bathroom on the bike. If we didn't have to go to the bathroom, we'd back on the bike. Sometimes we didn't even get off the bike. You'd fuel the bike sitting on it and drive away. That made us climb pretty consistent. We were kind of climbing pretty steady. Checked in at Spokane, I believe, again around 14:15, and then we decided we were going to push it. Shortened our breaks. Still slept, but shortened our breaks considerably. Just tried to do it really quick. By the way, we also carried all our food. I had power balls, boiled eggs, bacon, a little bit of chicken, a little bit of pork. We had to keep that cool. So bike's loaded with 14 days worth of clothing, food, tools, sleeping essentials, which isn't what I typically ride every day. My bike doesn't have that much weight on, so that added to the stress of running. But you know, just had to get used to it. Probably for that reason, as physically fit I feel like I am. I dropped my bike, I think, 3 or 4 times trying to make a corner, doing it kind of weird, and I laid it down on its side. I've picked up my bike before, no big deal. My bike was heavy. That was, with all that gear in there, it was hard to pick that thing up. But other than one little close call where I got a little bit onto the shoulder, and one deer running out in front of us, which was close but not, just makes your heart race a little bit for a little while. I did hit a bunny. The bunny did not make it. But other than that, I had an amazingly good luck with safety. All in all, we did really well. Ended up coming into Medicine Park, the finish line. Jason and I come in at 7th and 8th place. Extremely higher than what I expected. Like I said, I wanted to be done at the end of 14 days. We got in at the end of the 12th day behind 6 guys that are animals, machines. I don't get how they do it. The first place guy came in, I think, a day and a half ahead of us, was in the lead from the beginning and ran away from everyone the whole time. Wow. I don't know how you do it, man. That was impressive. 5 other guys, 3 of them had accidents, anywhere from, well, no, those 3 were pretty serious accidents. One got on a shoulder, from what I understand, and totaled his bike, other than being sore, had all the gear on, and walked away. His family, I think it was family member or friend, someone brought him another bike that he owned, and he was off the bike, I believe, somewhere between 12 and 14 hours. I'm not certain on that for sure, and continued on his way with a different bike, which is allowed as long as you move the tracker from one vehicle to the other. Another guy, Paco, had hit a deer and had to kind of get some things straightened up, but the deer had hit the front corner and then slapped him in the side, so he was pretty sore from that. Then later, from what I understand, he missed a corner and slid the bike on its side and yard sailed all his stuff. Basically, a cop pulled up there shortly, or some cars pulled up shortly, and he collected all his stuff, threw it in the bike, picked it up, rode to the nearest hardware store, and proceeded to put his bike back together with Gorilla duct tape. I guess shortly thereafter, he also ran into a bunch of wind and went down a ditch and somehow couldn't get stopped or something, and ran into like some bridge embankment. Again, pulled out the duct tape, taped it back together, and kept on the route. Eric hits, I think the last day, a 1,200-pound elk at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and waits on the side of the road for probably an hour between the first person that came around to them going down the road where there was coverage, calling police and the EMS showing up. They haul him away to the hospital. He has a pretty significant cut on his knee. They stitched that up. He's got a little road rash on his knee. He's got a couple broken bones in his hand. But within 4 hours is released from the hospital. He proceeds to take an Uber to the local dealership and buy another bike and go back to where he wrecked his bike, which is the rules, just like if you get off the route, and proceeds to finish the route with a broken hand, road rash on his knees. Wow. So 6 guys finish in front of Jason and I. I don't know how they pull off what they pull off, because I think we were probably 8 hours back of the 6th place guy. We roll in at 7 and 8, and I'll be honest with you, I wanted to finish in 14 days, to be done at 12 days and behind 6 of the baddest riders that I know of. There was one rookie that did this by himself. Amazing. Jason and I did this together. This wasn't a solo thing. If I do it again, I'll probably do it alone, only just to experience that. I wouldn't take away. I loved doing this with Jason. It was great. We know each other. We ride similar, so there wasn't an issue with pit stops and that type of thing. So 6 and 7, 12 days in. I've got a day today to welcome the other riders that continue to come in. And then Saturday as well, actually 2 days, I guess. And Saturday night is the end of the road party, which, talking to these guys and hearing their stories and knowing what they went through firsthand is so much fun. Anyways, that's a briefing on what I did over the last few days. Thank you very much for following. Thank you for encouraging. Thank you for just going along for the ride with me. That's it. 2018 Hoka Hey Motorcycle Challenge. Take care.